We're taking you live to Bali now, where the Foreign Minister Penny Wong is speaking ahead of a meeting of G20 foreign ministers. She's currently taking questions. She's been speaking about the Russia-Ukraine conflict.
I first would make the point to you that this is not a, in the edges of the multilaterals, that it's often very fluid, and we don't have the same sort of set bilateral program as obviously on the last occasion when I was speaking to you. My first bilateral, I think, is intended to be with Prime Minister Bainimarama. Unfortunately, I'll be missing the PIF Foreign Ministers meeting tomorrow, so I do want to talk to him about that, and I'll be trying to attend virtually for some of the time. In relation to China, I made some comments yesterday, and they remain the case. Australian ministers remain open to engage. We are willing to engage, and that willingness extends to any meeting in the margins of the G20. No, I'm not going to respond to that because you started the question with an if.
So. You said that. Sorry, you said it's fluid, and I understand that. But it's not so fluid with Secretary Blinken. China has already announced that it will be having a bilateral.
And we welcome that. We welcome that. If we want greater stability in this world, we would want the two great powers to engage closely, notwithstanding the differences. We would want engagement between the US and China, which occurs. So do you want to try and rephrase your question so I don't dismiss it before you say
If that meeting doesn't go ahead with China, can you interpret that as a sign that China doesn't want to cooperate with Australia?
I'll leave that to commentators. What I've said publicly, and it remains the Albanese government's position, is that we believe it would be in China and Australia's interests for this relationship to be stabilised. And that would require both parties to make a step.
You mentioned that if you'd like to see China use its position as a partner of no limits with Russia in your speech last night to influence the course of the war and to end the war. Will you be hoping to make that point to Wang Yi himself today?
Well, I'll simply again reiterate that position publicly. It's a position I articulated prior to the election, that as a great power and as a global leader and as a permanent member of the Security Council, China has a special responsibility to uphold the UN Charter and international law, and it has an opportunity to do so. And we would always encourage that to occur.
The Solomons president has said he wants a permanent Chinese presence there to train their police force. Does that concern you?
We have a very strong view that Pacific security should be the responsibility of the Pacific family, and that will be the approach Australia takes both at the PIF Foreign Ministers meeting tomorrow and the PIF Leaders meeting next week. And I'd make the point that the security of any one country in the Pacific Islands is a sovereign decision. It is important to recognise that those decisions, though, can impact upon the region, and that is why taking a regional focus, a regional approach to security is so important.
The Japanese ambassador has said that in Australia,
right.
Sorry. Yes, the Japanese ambassador to Australia has said that the Queensland government's hike in coal royalties by 40% is an act of bad faith, essentially, and could hamper foreign investment in clean energy as well.
I haven't seen those comments, and so I don't propose to respond to them, but we'll come back to you if we have anything to say.
The Trade Minister has flagged that Australia is willing to settle trade disputes on the sidelines of the WTO rather than escalating them through formal mechanisms. Do you think China would be willing to take an approach like that?
I will simply say this, and I said this last night in a speech I gave in Singapore. We believe, the Australian government believes, and I think the Australian people believe, that the trade measures that China has instituted against Australia should be lifted, and that remains our position. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.